but
Okay.
yeah, it's super super cool. What do you say we do a Wheelo question? Do we want to do
Yeah.
one or two?
Let's do one.
Just one tonight. All right,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's go to the wheel and have fun.
It
All right.
changes every time.
Yeah, I like to play around with it. Well, welcome
I
everybody
like
back to the weekend question wheel, where we spin the wheel and hopefully answer some of your questions that you send us. We've got one. Actually, I think we got three on the wheel. One from my cousin John. We got one from Chuck Phelps, and the newest one, Jorge Miave.
Yep. Thank you, Jorge, for submitting. And anybody who wants to
Yeah.
submit, just if you're watching this on YouTube, just leave a question in the comment section. If you're listening to us on podcast, then write into just email us. Give them the email.
Alan? I don't know.
Alan.
Oh,
Give me
yeah,
an email.
sorry. The weekend, A2Z@gmail.com.
So email us there with a question. Just in the subject line, put question for the wheel.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. All right, spin this puppy.
All right, let's go. Every time I look at this, it cracks me up. I'm like, why did I put a bullfighter on this question? What is your favorite family tradition? I just cracks
Bullfighting.
Yeah, bullfighting, yes. Maybe that's a bucket list thing for me. We start a bullfighting tradition. But with that said, guys, what is your favorite family traditions that y'all do?
Sure. Favorite family tradition, and we're not going to do it this year because of the troubles, the badness out in the world. Christmas Eve with my family. So Christmas Eve, we have is when we do our family Christmas with my side of the family, and for decades it's the meal that we have, our Christmas meal, and my grandmother was Sicilian, and so for Christmas we have homemade lasagna. So with the sauce that you cook down for days, and you make the fresh noodles, and you get the fresh ricotta cheese and put everything in it, and you make the meat sauce, and you cook the meatballs and the sausage and all of this stuff. It's one of those things where that's the only time of the year where I eat lasagna, because everybody else's lasagna sucks. So when my grandmother passed away, my father started making the lasagna, and so we've had this tradition, this meal that is our meal for, but that's the only thing I can remember eating for Christmas dinner. And it is, that's my favorite family tradition that we have, just because it goes back so long. And the fact that the reason that it happened is because one year my grandmother didn't want another turkey. She didn't want, she was Sicilian, came over to the US when she was probably around Isaiah's age, and then went to grew up in New York and Brooklyn when she met my grandfather during World War II, and he brought her to Grand Prairie, Texas in the late 40s. So it's one of those things where it was like, so it was total culture shock. And finally, after so many years of eating turkey,
she was like, no more.
Twice, basically in a month, she was like, I don't want this shit. And so she started making lasagna. So yeah, that's my favorite family tradition.
Awesome. Mine would also have to do with Christmas too. My wife calls me a cornball for this, but ever since I moved out of the house, something that my mom has always wanted us to do, and my dad too, was always to want the kids to come back to the house for Christmas, spend the night on Christmas Eve, wake up on Christmas morning, have breakfast together, hot chocolate, stay up the night before, hot chocolate. We go to midnight service, have breakfast together next morning, and then we open presents, sometime early afternoon.
Any Irish cream in that hot chocolate? Just
yeah. So like last year, I brought some winter wassail, I think is what I had over there, and I brought that over there. My sister and I, we spiked it with a little whiskey, and it was good. Yeah, it was good, and it's going to be sad that she's not going to be able to come down this time, but it's understandable just because of all the stuff going on, and also my parents are older, so we're also taking all the precautions not to jeopardize any of that. We did have a wedding to go to this past weekend, but okay, never mind then. Yeah, so so that's been one of my favorite family traditions. Yes, my mom when I was single, she would always ask me like, "Hey, are you gonna come spend the night?" And I'm like, "No, I'll be home in the morning. Like I'm not. I'm gonna go home." And then now it's like, yeah, after, yeah. So
well, it's one of those things where, especially once you have kids, now you understand why they want it, why they were like, come over on Christmas, or come over and do this special thing that we want to do. Yeah, no, I was the same way. I didn't get that stuff until I was a parent, of like why parents want their kids home at certain certain times of the year and stuff like that. It's for a little bit of nostalgia, and it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, well, this is our tradition,
Yeah, and like this year's going to be like even better for Christmas, because now this guy will actually understand a little bit about what's going on. I mean, last year like he opened some presents, but this year it'll be better.
Oh yeah, it gets great.
Yeah.
Scott,
so what about you, man?
My family tradition, Justin, is very similar to yours. For the past 26 years or so in that area, I've got two friends, Vern and Joe T. Joe T is Italian heritage, and we might have a lasagna bake-off, sir.
Okay.
So yeah, she fixes.
I need an invite.
I might. Well, I get to bring some home with me each year, but yeah, there's no sharing, sir. You have to be there to indulge. But yeah, so she fixes amazing lasagna. It started off with Vern, Joe T, and myself, and then past several years, it's grown to probably 10 to 15 people. So yeah, and that is actually happening this Sunday. So Joe T, if you're listening, what do I need to bring? Although this podcast will be after the lasagna, but we'll have something to talk about next week. Yeah, so lasagna party at Vern and Joe T's, something that I definitely look forward to. And I look forward, she goes, I go, how much can I take home? And usually I take a little bit more than I'm allowed.
Yeah, it's one of those things that usually, because the size of the family has gotten smaller over the years, like even with extended family and stuff, it's now like there's just now 8 of us. It's my 3, my sister's 3, and my dad and his wife. So it's one of those things where, I mean, it used to be we would make like 4 or 5 pans of lasagna, and now we're making 2. And the reason we make 2 is 1 to eat and 1 for everyone to split as we leave.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, it's the meatballs. It's how
sounds
you make
delicious, man.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like once you start learning the recipes and all of that stuff, it's like, oh yeah, what do you put in the meatballs? And it was like, well, you put golden raisins in there. What? And people are like, why the fuck are there raisins in your meatballs? Like, because it gives it flavor. We also put pinole and pine nuts go in there as well, and it's just the different kind of, it's how we do it. And you get the meatballs and you brown them off to where when you're cooking them, they're almost look burnt on the outside, and then you put them in the sauce and they cook all the way through for usually about a day and a half as you're making the sauce or making the gravy. So yeah, that's good.